Normally, an American president visiting Asia leans on regional alliances to project strength. But Donald Trump bypassed the recent Quad summit entirely, landing straight in Beijing instead. While walking with Chinese officials, an American reporter lobs a point-blank question about Taiwan. Trump, a man who rarely misses a chance to dominate a microphone, walks right past without saying a single word. It's a sharp pivot from his typical behavior. When asked about border disputes like Kashmir, he often claims he can solve them instantly. Yet, in the heart of the Chinese capital, he offers no opinion on Taiwan. This caution follows a string of diplomatic setbacks in the Middle East. Recent U.S. operations in Iran failed to secure strategic objectives, leaving Tehran with enriched uranium and straining American relations with both Europe and regional allies. Entering Beijing with his geopolitical leverage diminished, Trump has adopted a defensive posture. He arrived with a delegation of top U.S. CEOs, including Elon Musk, attempting to use trade as a substitute for his stalled diplomatic agenda. China responded with a massive, highly orchestrated military welcome. The display was designed to project state cohesion and confidence directly to the visiting Americans. During the ceremony, President Xi Jinping stepped forward. Speaking in Mandarin, he delivered a specific message directly to the President of the United States. The world has come to a new crossroads. Can China and the United States overcome the Thucydides Trap? Xi is signaling that Beijing views the relationship through a historical lens of power transition. By invoking this specific term, he is clearly telling Washington that the window for traditional diplomacy is closing. The concept originates 2,400 years ago in ancient Greece. The military strategist Thucydides observed that the rising power of Athens created a deep-seated fear in the established power of Sparta, making a clash inevitable. This chart illustrates the core mechanics. A tipping point occurs when a dominant global power declines, just as a new power ascends. In historical instances, this intersection leads to a violent clash. The dominant power chooses war to protect its rank. Xi Jinping is applying this ancient law to the present. In this framework, the United States is the established power facing decline, while China is the rapidly rising challenger. This shift has fueled a surge of nationalistic pride within China. An entire generation has watched their nation transform from an economic laggard into a unified world power, reinforcing the belief that their rise is unstoppable. By naming the trap, Xi is warning that history is repeating itself. He is telling the American delegation that their current trajectory is leading directly toward a global conflict. There is a rare historical alternative to this conflict, but it requires the dominant power to accept the end of its status as the world's sole superpower. The most prominent example is the British Empire. After a century of global dominance, the UK eventually faced its own economic and military limitations. Rather than fighting the United States for the #1 spot, the British chose to manage their decline through cooperation. They established shared intelligence networks, military alliances like NATO, and eventually accepted a secondary role supporting the new American-led order. Xi Jinping is presenting Washington with this historical model. He is suggesting that the only way to avoid the trap is for the United States to accept a shared global stage and cooperate in a multipolar world. The difference in their positions was visible throughout the visit. Xi remained calm and silent, while Trump acted with visible defensiveness, attempting to project an image of mutual control that his recent foreign policy failures have undermined. Geopolitical data suggests the center of global gravity has already shifted. China's manufacturing and GDP growth indicate the era where the United States acted as the sole superpower is ending. This shift is being tested most acutely here, in the Taiwan Strait. This narrow stretch of water is where the rising confidence of Beijing meets the historical commitments of Washington. American leadership faces a choice with no easy exit. They can manage a peaceful transition into this new reality, or succumb to domestic pressure and risk a conflict to reclaim their former status. If the United States ignores the historical precedents Xi cited, it risks following the path of every other declining power that fell into the Thucydides trap, turning a regional dispute into a global collision.